The Not-So-Perfect Paradise, Part 1, by Grace Halbert. I stared out the window inside. I tapped the frame of the plane window impatiently, feeling sure this was absolutely the longest plane ride I'd ever been on. Correction, plane rides. I'd been plane hopping since Memphis. From there, I had gone to Kansas City, Denver, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, and now here I am, going to Sapphire Beach, which is a private island just north of Maui. "Do you mind?" the grouchy old man next to me snaps irritably. His tone tells me that even if I don't mind, I should. I immediately stop tapping. "Sorry," I murmur. He has thick glasses and is reading a huge book. That gives me a headache just looking at it. He must be a professor, I think. I lean forward to see what this man is so keen on reading. I only make out the first words, bumping off. What does that mean? Maybe he's a science professor. He squints his eyes at me and scrunches his nose. "Don't you have anything better to do? Mind your own business, or you won't have any business to mind." His voice is low, which is even scarier than him yelling. My legs shake, but I try to keep my voice steady as I say, "Is that a threat?" He chuckles and says, "No, that's what I've learned throughout the years." He snaps the book closed and puts it in his carry-on. Was he lying? He seemed pretty serious, but what would a science professor know about minding his own business? Before I have time to think about the recent events, the flight attendant comes on and says, "Please fasten your seatbelts. We will be landing in 2 minutes." Landing. I'm excited to see my cousin Rose. She lives with her mother, my mom's sister, and her famous CEO father in a ginormous mansion. I hate him. Hey, he hates me too. I don't know what I did to him. I tried asking my mom about it, but she just said, "Ivy, don't be silly. Your uncle adores you." But she can never meet my eyes, which just proves my theory that he doesn't like me. My ears plug as the plane begins its descent. When we finally touch down, I can barely hear, and I join the rush of people to get off the plane. I follow that wave of people and pull out my phone. I send my mom a text saying, "Just arrived." These were my first plane rides by myself. My mom was so worried she almost didn't let me go. I begged and told her that I was 14, almost 15, and I'd be driving in less than 2 years. Finally, she let me go. I find my hot pink suitcase with white polka dots. I'd probably picked it out since no one would have one like it. All the luggage people have are dull blacks or ugly greens. Mr. Grouchy from the plane comes up next to me and swiftly grabs a boring black suitcase. He is agile, which makes me begin to doubt that he is a science professor. I catch a glimpse of his luggage tag. It reads Paul Serenino. I quickly realize that I look stupid, standing in a crowd of people with my suitcase already in hand, staring at Mr. Serenino walk away. I walk to a bench and text Rose, asking her where she is. She replies saying, "We're right across from you, by the luggage carousel." She doesn't mean it to embarrass me, but my face turns red anyway. I walk over to where I see them. Aunt Lily wearing a smile that is soft but welcoming. Her brown hair reaches shoulder length and her green eyes sparkle. Rose, who looks just like her mother, yells, "Ivy," and engulfs me in a big hug. "I'm so glad you're here," she whispers. That's a kind phrase, a friendly phrase, but she says it desperately. I pull back and say, "What?" Her green eyes search me, and I know that she will tell me when it's just us. "Miss Ross?" "My uncle." "Great." He pompously thrusts a hand at me to shake. "Hi, Uncle Simon." "I'm glad you contacted Rose. Otherwise, we have been here all day waiting for you to look up." Some uncles might say something like this jokingly. He isn't one of those uncles. He means it. I feel myself blush again. Aunt Lily and Rose both turn and give him glares. He notices this and says, "What? After all, I'm just stating the facts." Aunt Lily sighs and says, "Pedro is waiting for us." We all walk toward the exit. "Sorry," Rose whispers. "Don't worry about him. He'll be working most of the time you're here." "It's not your fault how he treats me," I say. We push through the doors, and a blast of warm wind hits us. "Over here," Aunt Lily tells us. We walk a short distance, where we are met by a Puerto Rican man who promptly takes our luggage. We get into an expensive-looking black sedan. The leather seats are already cool and are a lot more comfortable than the seats in my car back home. Aunt Lily and Rose slide into the back of the car. Almost immediately, after he buckles his seatbelt, Uncle Simon pulls out his cell phone. He starts talking into his earpiece. Aunt Lily tells me quietly, he's meeting with an associate this weekend. He'll be in his office the whole time. "Okay," I say softly. "Aunt Lily, this would be easier for me if I knew why he disliked me so much." Aunt Lily and Rose exchange a glance. "Ivy, your uncle," Aunt Lily begins. "He had a sister, but sadly she was killed by a drunk driver 10 years ago. That's awful, I whisper. But what does this have to do with me? Ivy, please don't take this personally. You had no control over... What? I practically scream. Tell me! Ivy, the driver was your uncle. Uncle Dan, I whisper. I gasp for air. That explained everything. I am a naturally curious person, and I had always wondered why Uncle Dan had moved to Turkey to start over. My parents had always said he had been wanting to live there since he got out of college. After he moved away, when I was 4, we never heard from him. When I was 10, I would look for pictures of him. He never had a happy smile. When I was older, my mom told me he was seriously depressed. But, Aunt Lily said, snapping me back to reality, the worst part was that your uncle was cleared of all charges. That's all I can handle. I break down into tears just as we pull through the tall iron gates. It's okay, Rose says, giving me a hug. I stop crying and start hiccuping. Great. How embarrassing. I'm sorry, Aunt Lily says. I wanted to know, I manage. We get out of the car and Pedro takes our luggage. We walk up to the path where the wide front doors await us. The Trant Mansion is a modern white house that could easily pass for a castle. It's 3 stories and is almost entirely made of glass. A butler opens the door for us. That's Robert, Rose whispers. Robert is tall and stooped. He reminds me of Mr. Serenino. Robert doesn't seem like he talks much, but is more or less seen and not heard. Pedro starts to carry my luggage up the grand mahogany staircase. Uncle Simon makes a beeline for a room to the right of the staircase. It has glass French doors, but looks like someone put blinds over them. That must be his office. Aunt Lily, Rose, and I proceed down the long hallway until we reach the kitchen. You must be hungry, Aunt Lily says. What can I get you to eat? I'll just have an apple, I say, reaching for a shiny green apple sitting in a ceramic bowl in the middle of the table. I take a big bite of it. I realize I haven't eaten since the peanuts on the plane. Aunt Lily looks anxiously at me to see if I'm okay. I don't know if I am. All the things I have just learned make sense. I mean, Uncle Dan was my dad's brother, and my dad had always had business trips when my mom and I would come here. I just wish Uncle Simon wouldn't blame me just because I was related to him. It wasn't my fault that Uncle Dan had drinking problems. How could he blame me? We can go down to the beach if you want, Rose offered. I brightened a little. Rose always knew how to cheer me up. Sure, I replied. Let's go get your stuff, Rose said. I think Pedro put your things in my guest room. I had finished my apple, so we went upstairs. Wow, I thought, she has her own guest room. When I had sleepovers, we would have to sleep on the floor. The guest room is brightly decorated with pinks and oranges. A large canopy frames a king-sized bed, and the dark wood floors shine. The sunlight shines in through a large bay window. Wow, I say, this is at least double the size of my normal room back home. You should be comfortable here, Rose tells me. If you need anything, just press the talk button on the intercom and say what you need. Our housekeeper, Laura, will help you. More staff? Last time I came, 4 years ago, they'd only had Robert. I'll let you unpack, Rose said. Meet me in your bathing suit down on the beach. She turned to leave. Rose, I say. She turned around. Yeah? I'm sorry that my uncle killed your aunt. The realization of what I'm saying hits me like a sudden blow. Her aunt. It's not your fault, she says softly, but as she turns to leave, I see her eyes are big and red. She gently closes the door, and I lie face down on the soft silk comforter and use all my willpower not to cry. After about 5 minutes, I have calmed down, and I change into my pink ruffled bathing suit and head downstairs with my beach towel. I walk through the kitchen and out to the veranda. I see Rose lying on a hammock about halfway to the open. I make a promise to temporarily forget about my uncle and do what I came here for, rest and relaxation. Between my competitive dance schedule, homework, and hanging out with my best friend Allie, this is my only vacation time. I take a deep breath and walk out to the beach, my feet padding on the hot, thin sand. When Rose hears me, she turns around and gives me a weak smile. You can sit with me on the hammock if you want, she tells me. I sit next to her and we swing back and forth, enjoying the warm breeze and the sound of waves lapping up the sand. What did you want to talk to me about? I ask Rose. I see regret flash through her face and know she wishes she hadn't said anything. Well, actually, it's about my dad. I overheard him bragging. He had some groundbreaking evidence that could press charges against your uncle. But the worst part is, if your uncle's in hiding or unreachable, he'll press charges against your dad's family, particularly your grandparents, since they were responsible for him. But Mammy and Poppy weren't responsible. I break off. When the crash happened 10 years ago, Uncle Dan was 17, almost 18. There was a big age difference between my dad and Uncle Dan, but they'd always said that was the reason they were so close. I then think of Mammy and Poppy, who are both in assisted living and are slowly running out of retirement money. Then anger and hatred bubbles up in my throat. "Your cruel dad can't press charges against innocent people," I scream at Rose. At first she is quiet and startled, but then I see her face change, and to my surprise she yells back at me. "How innocent are they?" she counters. "The evidence my dad has found proves they were the ones who let your uncle drink in the first place." "That's insane," I yell, and run up to the back door and storm up to the stairs. On the staircase I meet Aunt Lily. "Is everything okay?" she asks kindly. "Just ask your daughter," I scream as I run past her to my room and slam the door. Immediately, I am overwhelmed with guilt about how I treated Aunt Lily. None of this is her fault. Same with Rose, except that she sounded like she was siding with her dad on this matter. For the second time today, I sob on the bed, wishing I had stayed in New York City. Stay tuned for part 2 to find out what happens with Rose and Ivy.